All right, we are live.
All right. We are back. Another Friday night, smooth Friday night. Everybody in their vibes. This is episode 2 of the Dog Pound presents Off the Chain Unleashed. Episode 2. So we got people back in here. I'm Blockchain Dame. I'll be your host for today. We got Trader Mayne. We got Crypto Blues. We got Clay. We got Satoshi Wolf. And we back at it again. So this week we had like a bullish week for Bitcoin. Whatever speculation that may be of, you can draw your own little reasons for that. But right now Bitcoin is sitting at around 8250, Ethereum at 473, Ripple still going down the drain at 45 cents. So just a little recap, guys. What do you guys all think about the bullish movement this week? What are some of your thoughts on that?
I like it. I like what we see. I mean, as we spoke about last time, and something I've been talking about, on Twitter and different channels I've been in. I mean, for me, the only thing I was watching is a break of that resistance line with some decent volume, and we got that. So for me, I think from here we're going to see a test of 10,000, and personally, I think that's it. We've seen the bottom for now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was the bottom. Everyone always expects like this big, hard, sharp, like down move, and then like a savior bar for like the reversal. And I don't think it's going to change each time, kind of thing. Like everyone's expecting one thing, so it's going to be the other.
Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of people felt squeezed anyway, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That last little dip there, where I saw a few people drop off.
Yeah, I just think like you guys said, I think the bottom has been reached, and then there's just been so much bullish news coming out, which is what I'll get to in a minute after we get through wrapping it up on this the little pre-show thing. But I just think there's so much news coming out with the ETFs and just the many different uses of crypto in general, just becoming more mainstream, and to the outside world that's not actively invested in crypto, it may seem like it's still underground or whatever, but we know from the inside, from the people that's been doing this for a while, that it's starting to get out there a little bit more, and you can kind of just feel it coming. You kind of feel that next bull wave coming. We still got a long way to go with some of these major resistances coming up, but it's definitely looking good for sure.
What about you, Trader Mayne? What are your thoughts? You come from a much more technical perspective.
So, I mean, I'll preface the bottom with local bottom. I'm not going to call anything a bottom until we, are at new all-time highs. You never know, right? But I mean, there's no reason to be trying to short this up move unless you're doing so on, the lower time frames, and you're playing, scalps for a couple hundred points. But in terms of like swing trades, major position trades, since 5,800, longs have definitely been the ones that made the most sense. I think it's all good things, and I kind of agree with everyone. I think 8,800 to me is the key level. That if we break that, at the very least, we'll sweep those stops up above 10K, and then we'll see what happens around there. But I think 88 is basically the middle of the range between the last major high on the highest time frame, which was around like 11,800 or so, down to 5,800. So the middle, the equilibrium of that is about 8,800. So above there will be interesting, but until we get above there, obviously cautiously optimistic.
Okay. That sounds good. Nice little pre-analysis. So let's get into some topics that we have today. We got some good ones today, and I'll start it off with the first topic. Just some news, just some random news today. So we got some news came out, which I thought was interesting about Coinbase. Now, whatever anybody thinks about Coinbase, it's cool, but they are the front runners of putting a lot of this crypto stuff mainstream, and the ease of use. Everybody's first time buying some Bitcoin or Ethereum has most likely happened on the Coinbase platform. We can all agree. But they came out with some news earlier today. They're working with a company called WeGift, and I'm guessing it's a site similar to like eGifter or whatever. You can buy gift cards or use cryptocurrency to pay for certain services, right? So Coinbase is continuing to expand its portfolio of cryptocurrency items, adding new means that users can take advantage of to spend their cryptocurrency on a day-to-day items and services. Now, one of these most interesting services to me was Bitcoin. Was Uber. They said you can start paying for Ubers with Bitcoin, and of course, it'll be through a partnership with Coinbase and WeGift, right? And not only for Uber, but other retailers such as Nike, Tesco, Ticketmaster, Google Play, and others. And so I'm guessing Coinbase will provide some kind of API or some kind of front end user interface that will make all of this shit mesh together real smooth. And hopefully it'll be another step into which leads us to the more mainstream thing, more everyday use thing of using crypto for everyday purpose, right? So I know I would like to use my crypto with like Uber and all of that stuff. What do you guys think about this? I think this is definitely good news. I mean, it's not the biggest news. I don't think it's going to drive the price of Bitcoin up or anything, but I think this is definitely some good news and interesting.
So for me, like, so I've actually been looking into a lot of stuff like this because I'm starting to think, how do we bring the masses into cryptocurrency or blockchain? And something that keeps coming up is we need something like, let's say, for example, one of those, credit cards, whatever it may be, which works with cryptocurrency and blockchain without the end user really having to deal with it, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is, I'm imagining, and this is the first time I've seen this that you put up there, but I'm imagining Uber and all these retailers that are part of this program with Coinbase, they're getting fiat right away. So these guys, I imagine, would not be holding the cryptocurrency. I could be wrong, I need to look into it. But there are some other services coming out which are allowing users to effectively pay for things. And retailers are just getting fiat straight into their merchant account. So I think the more we see of that, the better. Because what's going to happen is it's going to allow businesses to step into the cryptocurrency space without actually taking the risk with the volatility that we see. Yeah. And from there, once we start to see more and more merchants accepting it and the prices start to stable, then I think we'll start to see merchants actually accepting cryptocurrency, where they'll take the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the Litecoin, whatever it may be, and hold on to it, and then be able to pay their suppliers with that as well. And until we see that end part there, I think this is the best we can hope for.
Yeah, and I think one of the major key points to this whole news is within this sentence right here that I'm highlighting. It says, in addition, Coinbase said that customers who purchase e-gift cards will be able to enjoy 0 withdrawal fees. I think that's big right there. So basically, if you use this service that's going to come out in the future, whatever coins that you use or whatever that you use to buy these services, it'll be a 0 withdrawal fee, which is pretty cool too.
At the moment, would you really want to pay like for your Uber with Bitcoin? Would you want to see a Bitcoin leaving?
I think it depends on how easy it is to do it. I mean, if they do it the right way and it's nicely integrated within the app, and it's just a one-click option to where you link up your account and you select, just when they bring up payment options and you simply select my Coinbase account and it handles everything after that, I would be inclined to use it if it was that easy.
But like what I'm trying to get at is obviously Bitcoin has these massive moves. So like, say your Uber ride costs $100 and it's sitting at like Bitcoin's sitting at $8,000 now, but then it goes to 20K in a couple of days. And then you
just pay for an expensive Uber, like a month.
Yeah. So wouldn't you rather just your money just to use for those kind of things?
I mean, all right, let's just put it like this. I think some people have a lot more Bitcoin than others. Some people don't have so much and would like to hold more long term. So I guess it just depends on what your portfolio is looking like, what your funds are looking like within the cryptocurrency landscape, to where some people may not give a damn. Some people may just be like, hey, fuck it, run it up. As long as it's not coming out of my fiat bank account, I don't care. But some people actually might be more cautious of using that, like you just said, and maybe like, well, you know what? I'd rather spend my fiat because my Bitcoin is too precious at this moment in this type of market right now. Where
I think we come at it as well with a trader mindset, right?
Yeah. See, that's like the trader mindset, right?
Whereas, because I was actually speaking to somebody last week about this. They were paying all their bills with a service here in Australia. You could pay all your electricity and phone bills and all that sort of stuff. But I said the same thing. And he just said, look, man, he goes, like, for me, he goes, this is just a way for me to pay my expenses. And he goes, whilst pushing the cryptocurrency and blockchain movement forward. He goes, because we all sit here and say, you know, like, let's make this the next biggest thing. Yet if none of us are actually using it for everyday things, it's sort of contradicting what we're doing. You guys push it forward. We're just going to hoard it and profit from it.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about this, man?
Yeah, no, it's funny because when I first got into crypto, like back in 2013, the whole goal of it was to make it adopted by the mainstream as a currency. So if you're not going to use it as a currency, it's like, what's the point? So I get what a lot of people are saying, and that's like, yeah, well, you know, my Bitcoin now might be worth this and it might be worth more in the future. But I mean, if we want this thing to have mainstream adoption and we want, you know, cryptocurrencies to replace fiat currency one day, it's got to be used to buy stuff. So, you know, like, that's just the bottom line. I mean, the same argument could be made for, you know, spending US dollars when it's on par with Canadian dollars versus spending it when it's, you know, at $1.30. You can have all the Bitcoin you want, but if you never withdraw it, if you never turn it into cash and buy anything with it, it's like, well, what do you have?
Yeah, that is true. So, Blues, I hear you back there. I know it's late for you right now, but let's get your input on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it gives more legitimacy to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because yeah, the end point is to get mass adoption. So this is a step further forward. So I think it's a good idea. Yeah, actually, I'm not intended to spend my Bitcoin right now because I think it's still early. But this is the trader mindset. So I think anyone else can spend Bitcoin to purchase. I don't know, like take a Uber or pay the bill.
Yeah,
it can be for different things. And blockchain is, as we see, it's a good technology. So yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I currently use something called eGifter, which allows you to buy gift cards and everything else like that with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I think they take like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. They actually give you a bonus if you buy the gift cards with cryptocurrency. So it was a good alternative for me. And I think they used the, what is that, BitPay API. So I mean, it's just another thing to bring it in everyday use. Like Clay said, I think if we're gonna get this mainstream, we actually, no matter if we think it's a good way to use it or not, we got to come out with these uses to where people can be able to ease of use on an everyday basis. So I think it's a good move forward. So does anybody else want to chime in on this before we head on to talk about some ETFs and all of that stuff? Because that seems to be the hottest topic right now, right? So. All right,
let's move on.
All right, let's move on it. All right, so I think Clay, did you want to take over with the sharing on this?
Not really. I just wanted, after like talking to Mayne about what he said just before the show, I kind of want to hear him say that again. I
want to get different perspectives on this because, you know, a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, ever since CBOE has filed to the SEC for the hearing of the approval of their ETFs, the big bad ETFs, right? Which is we're supposed to hear some kind of result from that in around August, September timeframe. I know I heard the August 10th date come up a lot, but I've also heard a lot of people saying that we won't actually hear anything until around September, right? So I think, and me and Clay were talking about this before the show, before we went live. Me myself, I'm not gonna act like I just knew what the hell an ETF was a couple of months ago, because I didn't know. I knew I had a nice general idea of what it was, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And I think that people that are listening, and you know, even people that have been doing this for a while, I think we need to explain what it actually is and how much and why this could have such a positive effect on the crypto space. So does anybody know any about this to where they can explain it at a nice high level?
Complete silence. See, that's nice. So, thanks for stopping by.
No, so I mean, my knowledge of the ETF it is limited, but I mean, if you're looking for like a summary of kind of what it was and their proposal, the ETF was going to hold kind of spot Bitcoin bought via Gemini, and then NAV would be based on Gemini's daily auction. Each share was set to be worth 0.01 Bitcoin. This is just a way to securitize it, I guess, is what my understanding was. When I saw this tweet from CNBC, I mean, I was kind of shocked because I knew that this was like very old news. I think this like came out like March of last year or something along those lines. And to me, this would be a move to legitimize a security or an asset like Bitcoin. That's kind of my high level understanding of what the ETF would do and the purpose of it. It's about legitimizing it because, I mean, if you look at it now, where Bitcoin is traded, for the most part, in my opinion, the most sketchy part about crypto are the exchanges. I don't trust a lot of my money on any of these exchanges. None of them are regulated. Some of them are, you know, in China or wherever. And if something were to happen, a hack were to happen, it's like, good luck getting your money back. So, I mean, this ETF is the first step towards, you know, regulations, which people then think in turn is going to mean, okay, more institutional money coming into the market, which is going to naturally pump the price up. So I think that's kind of like the retail mindset of, you know, what the ETF will do. And I don't disagree. I think the legality of it is that it's going to legitimize things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and have them traded on, you know, SEC regulated exchanges.
So, am I understanding correctly? Like past couple of weeks, haven't been as focused as I usually am. So, the news that came out recently about the Winklevoss twins and their ETF, I mean, that's old news, right?
Yeah.
That's news that they've just brought up, thrown it into the media as FUD, and it actually did work. We saw it.
Yeah, but I think the SEC made a statement yesterday, so they updated. They refused them again, so it's not really an old news.
Okay, so they did actually bring some new information.
Yeah, they did bring.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you know how it is on crypto Twitter, right? Half the people saying one thing, the other half saying another. So
because the thing is, yesterday the CNBC, they posted an article and they literally put 3 sentences in it. Like it was a bunch. It was literally FUD. They said, yeah, SEC refuses ETFs, and they updated the article like 10 minutes after. So yeah, it created some sort of controversy.
My favorite thing was a tweet that Dog posted about CNBC where they're like, oh, you know, Bitcoin's this is it, and then 10 minutes later it had that massive pump, and they're like, oh, Bitcoin's back on track. It's like, just make up your mind, guys. Jesus.
Yeah. So I mean, so to elaborate on it a little bit more, just so people can get, I guess, more of a technical meaning of what this is. So Jan Van Eck, who's the Van Eck CEO, which is so Van Eck is one of the investment firms that are partnering with the blockchain startup Solidex, and I guess they're the ones who's all in it with the CBOE, and they're together. I could be wrong on that, but he said that he believes Bitcoin is a legitimate investment option as a type of digital gold that may make sense for investors' portfolios despite regulatory hurdles they met previously. So, and then he went on to say, and this is the paragraph I wanted to read about. He said, we believe that collectively we will build something that may be better than other constructs currently making their way through the regulatory process. A properly constructed physically backed Bitcoin ETF will be designed to provide exposure to the price of Bitcoin and an insurance component. And an insurance component will help protect shareholders against the operational risk of sourcing and holding Bitcoin. So it seems like it's going to make it more safe for the big money people to get in. And like you know, just like Mayne was saying, a lot of these exchanges they're sketchy. You know what I'm saying? So that it provides the security and it provides the ease of investing in it as well and take some of the risk out. I think that's one of the main factors. And when all of that becomes a factor, it makes people more inclined to invest in it. So
yeah, it's all a move to legitimize Bitcoin. And I think, you know, this thing can happen for sure, but they have the ability to delay this shit. Like, I think like well into 2019, like before they actually have to make a decision. So again, I think CNBC, first of all, deleted the tweet, you know, and then Bitcoin dumped below 8,000 and they were like, oh, is Bitcoin's back below 8,000? Like, is this the end? Like, for anyone listening, like, do the exact opposite of what CNBC says, and you'll probably be better off than, you know, any other indicator you can use on TradingView. And it's no different than, you know, watching that Mad Money guy, whatever his name is, Max or whatever, and him talk about stocks and shit. It's the exact same type of thing for crypto. These guys go on TV, they shill shit, and it's usually perfectly wrong. And that's how it's supposed to be. Like, if you're waiting to, you know, trade based on the news, you're losing. So, I mean, to me, if you look at the chart right before that tweet came out, like, look at what was happening on the chart. And, like, it looked pretty obvious that price was going to dump, at least to me. You know, go on your chart, throw it on a 4-hour, you know, draw out the range. And I guess I could screen share. This would probably be smarter in trying to make you imagine the chart, okay?
Yeah, screen share. Yeah, do your thing and make sure that...
I don't have the imagination I did have when I was 6, Mayne.
Yeah, I know. Hold on.
So it says I'm screen sharing, but let me see if I can. So I think
I swapped it over.
Oh, you swapped it over to...
Yep.
Can y'all see my chart now?
Yeah, we can see it. It's like there's a few second delay between what we see and what YouTube shows. There it is now.
So whenever we have like an expansive move like we did here, same thing down here. The first thing I do is I draw out a range, right? So you wait for the pump to end and you draw out the end of the high and then you draw out the first low. Like, that's how you mark a trading range. And then you notice how there's an accumulation going on in between. And yeah, we spike through it here and we spike below it here, but all of the candles closed within the range. And then another important level to mark is kind of the middle of the range, because that would be considered equilibrium. And if you notice, it kind of quite nicely, you know, like a wave almost goes around there. And so for me, when I saw this happen, the difference between this range down here and this range up here is what? On this lower range, we were consistently closing above the range, right? We had this small dip below, which kind of blew out this low, but then we got right back above the equilibrium of the range, which is bullish. When you're over the 50% of a zone or anything, that's where you want to be if you want it to go higher. And we're consistently closing there. So if you look at this range that formed, right, as soon as we came up to it, we were rejected by it. This is the day before the news, right? We had long wicks at the top, long wicks, could not close above it, and then we dumped. So to anyone say that, like, oh, the news caused this dump, it's like, well, to me, I mean, it was obvious that this up move was running out of steam here. And again, after this pump today, we could not close above this line. And until we close above this line, we are not going to take out this high. And that's how I trade. I don't care about the news. That came out and everyone was like, oh, we dumped. I'm surprised. And I posted on Twitter on the 25th that I was going short based on us not being able to get above this level. So I always think something that's good for new traders, especially, and people who are trying to kind of navigate the waters of, okay, well, when does fundamentals matter? When does news matter? Like, yeah, news will cause volatility, but to me, it's priced into the market already. It's the only kind of exception I ever see is with like some of these tiny altcoins where they have some sort of announcement coming out and price just spikes like 100%. I mean, it's very hard to catch those unless you're already in it. But what I will find is that those spikes don't just happen out of nowhere. Usually it happens when prices, you know, hit a floor and has been accumulating for a while. And then boom, some news comes out and it pumps. So to me, this showed up in price first. You had the whole day of the 25th of price not being able to close above here. What was the sentiment on Twitter? Everyone was like, we're going to 10K. Like, we're about to hit 10K. So to me, that's like, okay, like, danger, look for short. Again.
Okay, so I guess this is going on to the next topic of yours, which is your topic, Mayne, and that's the topic of zoom out, right? So I had a quick question while you were talking about closing above that's middle line right there. Generally on what time frames do you look for the close on? I mean, just any time frame where we're closing, or like what would you say, like, I'm waiting for, you know, it to close on this time frame? Like,
yeah, so that's a great question, and one I get asked a lot, so it'll be good to kind of answer it live here, and we can make people who ask report back to this video and get them views. But for me, price is fractal. And what I mean by that, it's not like, oh, my 2014 bear market fractal, this shape looks like this shape, so this is what's going to happen. I think that stuff's stupid, but that's just my opinion. Some people seem to have success with it. I feel like that's one of those things, like the logarithmic scale on your chart. I feel like it's one of those things that you can make fit your bias however you want. You're like, oh, well, no, it makes sense because it did this, and, you know, now it's doing this. Just like with the log chart, you know, you can just keep redrawing that stupid trend line and be like, oh, we're still fucking on the log trend line and we're still going up like forever. So, you know, like, this is the stupidest chart in my opinion, because you can draw like this line, but then when it breaks, you can just adjust it forever and forever. Oh, we're still on the log line. So to me, it's the same kind of thing with those fractals. To me, what fractal means is that the daily candle is 24 hourly candles. And, you know, an hourly candle is 4 15-minute candles. And so anything that happens on one time frame can be seen on a lower time frame with just more detail. And it's like the sum of its, you know, parts make the whole. So when you're analyzing price, however you do it, based on the time frame that you're analyzing on, that's where you want to look for the closes and stuff. So for me, if I'm on a 4-hour chart and this is a 4-hour range, I want to see 4-hour candles not close above here. If I'm bearish, let's say, or if I'm bullish, I want to see a 4-hour close above here. So I don't freak out when I see this spike here, right? But if you're zoomed in on the 15-minute chart, like a bunch of degenerate people on BitMEX are, you know, they see this and they go, holy shit, like, this is it. But in reality, we just saw that this was just a wick, right? Like, this is just a wick. But we had all of these closes. You know, we had this higher high and then a higher low, but you got to zoom out, right? On the macro move, we've been going almost straight up here, right? So like a correction was eventually going to happen. And all the people who were watching price last night, I guarantee, who got in longs at the bottom of this range, you know, trying to catch the move to 10K, when they saw this dump off, they got stopped out. Even I was hesitant last night. You can ask Blues. He kind of talked me off the edge a little bit. Because I saw this and I was like, holy shit, this thing looks like it might be going lower. But, you know, you zoom out and you redo your perspective. And I tweeted, I said, don't be surprised to see us right back in the middle of the range tomorrow. So when you zoom out like this whole move doesn't look nearly as bad, right? Like, yeah, we blew out this low, we stopped out some people, but we're right back in the middle of the range. So I always just advise people to, like, start on the high time frame every day when you're going to do your analysis and look at the charts. Start on the high time frame, and if you think that, like, that little, like, all of the flipping of sentiment the last couple of days were this fucking candle. Like, that's it, right? And on the 3-day, like, does this not look bullish as fuck still? So, like, and like I said earlier, like, if you're shorting, sure, on the smaller time frames, it might make sense to take a short from 8,300 down to 8,000. You know, that's a nice short. But if you're trying to say, I'm trying to play the swing to 10K, which is way up here, you got to zoom out. You got to stop looking on the 15-minute chart, because that's not going to do you any good. So this is a perfect example of, like, what I mean in terms of, like, a fractal, right? This range forming on the 4-hour is no different than we have a large range forming on, you know, the 3-day. So the exact same logic to me kind of stands. And what I'm hoping to see is a close above this level. This is the level that matters to me. If you're in a sub 7,000 long, like, forget about what's happening intraday. You don't need to look. Like, go outside. Like, there's nothing telling me that this move is slowing down yet. Assuming we can get over this kind of 3-day block here, you know, you're looking really good to take out these highs at the very least. So it's kind of just like a piece of advice. Zoom out always, because I've been there. I've looked at the 5-minute chart, and, like, you'll go fucking nuts. Like, on the 5-minute chart, this thing looks like it's falling off a cliff. This looks like the end of the world. You're like, holy shit, we're necking, right? Like everyone, we're necking, man. It's done. We're going to 4K. We're dumpstering. Look, we're breaking all these lows. But like in reality, like you know damn well this thing's going to be back at 8,300 like in the next 2 days or even later tonight. So always zoom out just to maintain your unbiased, perspective of the market. Because when you get too focused on the small time frame, you'll sometimes forget the bigger picture. Like if you got in a long way down here saying we're going to 10K, why do you care what's happening in this little tiny swing of price?
So, Mayne, can I ask a quick question? So if you leave it on the 4-hour chart for me.
4 hour.
Yeah, so just for the viewers, if you zoom into that the top range you've set there. So when that big red wick came and sort of fell out of the bottom there. Yep, perfect. So when that big red wick came and it fell out of the bottom range that you'd set there, what was your reaction? Like, what advice would you have for people that are going to start trading like this? Because people take your word like gospel, and you're going to see them start doing this, which is great. What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, well, a quick caveat: do not take my word like gospel. I had some guy literally tweet to me, DM me today saying I'm a god. I was like, I'm not a god, guys. I get things wrong all the time. I've lost lots of money. I'm not always right. And nothing I say is financial advice. Just gotta have that disclaimer. But to me, there's a couple of things. It's first of all, what's your overall bias on the high time frame? If we're looking at a 4-hour chart, we have to determine our bias on higher time frames than that. So the daily, the 3-day, the weekly, and I think everyone is kind of looking at the same areas of liquidity. So when you're looking at a higher time frame chart, to determine where we're going, you want to look where the stops are going to be, right? There's going to be stops up here, and there's going to be stops up here. And all you're doing on the highest time frame, and there's also stops down here, right? All you're doing on the highest time frame is saying, okay, where are we most likely to go next? Where is the draw? And based on the higher time frame range, we're making, a low, a high, a higher low, and this is going to be a higher high. What people don't realize is this thing could come down like down here and still maintain, bullish market structure on the high time frame. So always have your higher time frame bias in mind. So for me, when I saw this red candle, I said this is an opportunity to either get long or add to your long if you're already long.
And it's interesting that you said that right there, because I myself had started building a long at around 8K on the futures, right? Because I see a lot of people talk about that, and with the BitMEX fees and all of that stuff. So I decided that was a good spot right there to start building along on the futures.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the scariest things is getting long in the face of a big red candle. Just like it's going short when it's going straight up. Like it's so counterintuitive to do that. You're like, well, we're fucking ripping up. Why would I want to short? And it's like, that's how it's designed. You're supposed to think that you're wrong. You don't want to. Smart money is not selling here, right? Smart money is buying in the down moves and selling in the up moves. Whether it's the institutional, players, central banks, whatever the fuck you want to call it, we seem to have moved on from market maker and just start calling them they. So when you see price dropping, they are buying, and that's why we were able to have this explosive move back up to the equilibrium of the range. It's not because a bunch of retail guys got long here. This was huge volume, right? Just like this was huge volume, this was huge volume. And the only reason we were able to retrace like this is because smart money was buying down here. And they were liquidating people who got long and put their stop below here, right? And there's obviously going to be some sort of a swing low within this candle on a lower time frame. So if your overall bias is bullish and you see a big down candle, to me, that's buying opportunity, right? Look for a setup that's going to make sense. And I didn't get the best entry. I think my first long entry was like right here at the break of this low. And I averaged it down to like 79 something on the way down. Man, but it's
while
scary.
You're explaining that, I wanted to ask, if for the people who are building long-term long positions in that anticipation of the 8K, at what price, in your opinion, man, would you be out of it? Would you be like, okay, it's not looking good right now, I'm done with building this position and I'm gonna just wait?
So if I'm aiming for 10K on the high time frame, you want to take the range of, you know, kind of where you think you're going to the low. This is what fibs are good for. People think like the OTE, like I got to find the OTE and just buy it. There's a fib is like a ruler. It's a measuring tool, right? It measures a price move. So in terms of a range here, anything below the 50% of the range is where you want to be getting long. And then in the upper 1/3 of the range is where you want to be either unloading your long or start looking for shorts. Because the whole idea of a trading range is that eventually the price will retrace to the other side of the range, right? It's all the way at the bottom of the range. Now we can have an expectation for price to move towards the top of the range. So you would want to be building longs, you know, down below the 50% line. And if you got long down here, you know, you could start taking profits. It's, you know, 8,300, 8,700, 9,000. And then obviously if we sweep there, we
20K.
sweep there. Huh?
20K.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, you want to hold it till 20K.
Then we to 30 after that. But that was a big fucking gem right there, man. Yeah,
so like this is something you should always do. Every time you have a defined trading range, mark off the middle, right? And notice how the middle of this range equals 7,800. Did we not have a hell of a time breaking through 7,800? Like there's not an accident. That's the 50% level of this trading range. So the fact that we got above that gives us, you know, hope is the wrong word here, but anticipation that we're going to see higher prices. So my trading is very simple in that sense. I use ranges and where we are in the range. So I'm not going to be buying longs for my long-term trade up here. The market is expensive up here, right? It's in a premium. The risk reward does not make sense up here. In terms of when is this thing going to flip and I would want to be out of this thing, I think if we come back down to here, this kind of area where we got over 7,800, I wouldn't really want to see it go much lower than this area. To me, if we come back to 6,800, again, we're going to see new lows. So that's kind of my thoughts. I think this is the most key area right now because we haven't even been able to close. I'll just delete. We haven't even been able to close above this, right? And I had a bunch of people in my DMs who were like, "Oh, your order block didn't work." And I go, "Well, what time frame are you looking on?" Because if you zoom out, like we just wicked it, and then we got pushed down heavily, and this candle hasn't closed yet. But I mean, we just wicked into it, and again, we're the body of the candle is below it. So the body of the candle is what matters. Not so much the wick. You know, this wick could be a retail trader's stop getting run, right? The volume happens in the body of the candle. The volume of this trade, you know, this was the biggest candle, I think, ever in BitMEX history. This is the volume. This little wick is, you know, not nearly as important. This is a lot more telling, right? People will say, well, look, we spiked all the way up here. It's like, well, that doesn't matter, right? Look how small the body is. There's tons of selling pressure. So to me, like this kind of area between these two blocks here, I think there's a weekly block here that will show it a little better. This one. Is this the one? Like, I don't think we want to come below this thing ever again. Not ever again, but if 10K is going to happen on this leg up, I mean, look what happens when you fucking zoom out. I'll turn off my drawing tools here. Like, yeah, like look at all the fucking euphoric bullish hype we have just from these 2 weeks. Like, do you guys remember what Twitter was like here?
Yeah.
And this was 5 consecutive weeks.
Yep.
This is only 2, right?
And I
so
think we consolidated a lot more, like more than a month. So we could have more moves. Like,
yeah, so I mean, you're right there, right? Like this thing dumped off, and then we basically started going up again. We definitely had some nice consolidation here, which is, I completely agree with you. I think this consolidation is what's going to, and obviously we wicked below these lows, right? I think that's what's going to give us the juice to get to 10K versus here. It's like we dumped and then we turned around. It just didn't make sense for this thing to go to 10K.
But like you said, Mayne, like once we get to 10K, it's not like it's a, you know, clear step to 15 and whatever. Then you've got to like muck around at that level. And then you've got 12K. And yeah, I think some people get a little bit carried away of how quick
they zoom in, right? Like if you're looking at the monthly chart, like this thing still looks like shit to me. In terms of like, oh, are we going to all-time high from here? Because if you look, like when we had this dump, the retrace candle, this was 100% move, right? This retrace candle was, I think, 60%, right? So far, we've only retraced 40%. So you could arguably say that they're getting weaker on the higher time frame. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, to me, I'm not flipping like full, like we have a chance at going really high until we get like a break above 10,000. I think that's going to be a super key level. But again, I think everyone just needs to zoom out every once in a while, realize where you are in terms of the trading range. And if you're long right now from subset $7,000, like why are you even looking at the chart? Like I know so many people who are in like 6,800 longs, 6,300 longs, and they're like staring at the chart all day going, oh man, like I don't know what I should do. Should I take profit? Should I? What was your analysis when you took the trade? Like when I take a trade, everything is predetermined. My entry, I write it out. My stop, I write it out. My logic, I'll write like a little blurb. My target, I write it out and I fucking screenshot it, or I use this little publish idea and I make it a private idea. I'm not sharing it publicly on my trading view, because then if I'm wrong, I can go back and I can look and I can say, okay, well, what went wrong? Was my stop too tight? And like, you are never going to develop as a trader if you're not doing these things. And I think it's very unsustainable what a lot of people are doing in the market right now, where they're super concerned about like getting likes on Twitter, and making it look like they caught every single move. It's like, you're only screwing yourself, man. Like it's great if I'm impressed with, you know, what you're posting on Twitter, but I'm not giving you any money. Like, I hope you're actually taking the trades. I hope you're actually continuing. I hope you actually are continuing to learn and you're writing shit down, because if you're not, like, what's the fucking point? Like, what's the point of being, you know, a Twitter celebrity if you're not actually like
making money
trades you're posting or making money? So I talked about this in the ICT podcast. I was like, is your goal to be a Twitter personality? Because there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a reason guys with 60,000 followers do ICO shills. There's a reason, because they're not fucking the traders that they say they are, right?
Yeah.
So I always question people who never post anything wrong, or who never make mistakes. And anyone who talks with me enough knows that, you know, I go through all the same fucking emotions and shit. I capitulate when I'm in a position, but I usually find most of the issues I have are A, from not having a clearly defined plan, or B, I'm just looking too much. Like once you enter a trade, theoretically, you shouldn't look at it at all. You know, check the chart once a day. If you're entering the trade on the 4 hour or the daily, check the chart once a day, you know, assuming nothing major has happened. This should not scare you at all.
That's where it goes into how Wolf trades. Like if he can go onto that, he just pretty much entry and leaves it for the days, and then
I mean, I spoke about it last time. You know, by no means do I consider myself a trader, as we spoke about, and as Mayne has just said, I trade larger time frames. So my long is currently open from, I think, 6,333, and I don't look at it. I'm done. I took some profit on it already, and then the rest of it, I let it ride. See what happens. Check it out once a day, maybe twice a day, board, and that's pretty much it. Mayne, just a real quick question that's actually relevant to what you're talking about. ACX just asked, how come you use different fib numbers rather than the standard? So I didn't actually see the numbers, so I'm not really sure.
So here, I'll pull up my fib.
Cheers.
So here's my fib settings for ever want to copy them or whatever. These are what you would call, I guess, the ICT focused fib numbers, and I'll explain what I use them for. So whoever sees that can screenshot that and they can copy them. So I use my fib for very specific things. I use it to measure the equilibrium of a range. That's like the main thing that I do. So when I drew out this range high and this range low, I pulled it from the high to the low, and then I marked off the 50%. I'll use it for finding the OTE, and I hate using that term because there's so much more to it. But you know, this low to this high, you'll get the 62 to 79%. That's considered the optimal trade entry. And this lines up with my range concept, right? Like this is a trading range. You want to be buying in the lower 1/3 of the trading range, which is, you know, down here. And if you're shorting, you want to be shorting in the upper 1/3, right? Other than that, the only time I use the fib is for potential profit taking levels. I don't really care about the like, oh, it's got to retrace to the 0.328. I don't think that the price is naturally drawn to these fucking numbers. To me, right, if you got long here, when it hits 100%, that's a symmetrical price swing. That means the distance of this move is equivalent to this, right? It's moved 100% in terms of just the range of the price. So the amount of dollars from here to here is the exact same as the amount of dollars from here to here. So these are often good profit-taking objectives, and I usually line it up with old highs, right? So I might not take profit at 7,541, but you know, there's old highs over here that kind of line up with the fib. So to me, that's a good profit-taking area. Same thing is up here. So for someone like yourself, Wolf, who got long down in, you know, 6,300, like hell yeah, like if you're not taking profit when you've had 100% move, like you're just hurting yourself. Because what happens if we do have one of those flash dumps and then you screwed yourself because you haven't paid yourself? People have this like desire to hold on to trades for so fucking long. It makes no sense to me. Like always pay yourself when you're up. Like always pay yourself, because if it's going to 10K, you're not going to have cashed out all of it down here. But pay yourself close 1/3 of your position after 100% move.
Yep. Yeah. Close about 50% of the position.
Exactly.
Around.
Close half, close 1/3, and then you're playing with house money at that point, and then that's even less stress. How you trade is how I think everyone should aspire to trade, because I feel like people put themselves through an insane amount of stress, an insane amount of pressure, and an insane amount of headache trying to be a day trader, when in reality the best traders are taking like 2 to 3 trades a week. Position traders are taking 2 to 3 trades a month, and then you're laughing. So, I mean, I think that's where people want to get to, but it's that whole crypto mindset, right? Get rich quick. Every time I'm in front of the computer, I need to be taking a trade. And it's like that kind of stuff will kill you and your account. I'm telling you, there's a lot of traders who are around now who are like, you know, doing these 0.1 to 1 Bitcoin scalping challenges that will not be here 3 years from now, because they've blown so many accounts that they're like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
I haven't seen any of them actually go well.
And that right there, that's some real shit right there. Because I, for one, will say that whenever I take frequent trades, I most likely end up on the losing side, because you know, you either you trying to hit something quick, or whenever you get the FOMO of missing a position, whenever it really wasn't that good of a position in the first place. If you would do as this topic is, zoom out. Well, I think that's when you start taking them L's, bro. And I think what you just said, all of that shit was good explanation. I'm definitely over here. I learned something. I'm over here taking notes. And with that being said, we heating the fuck up today, guys. We heating up. We got some good content coming out. So let's move on to the next topic. So there is, with all of this bullishness and all of this, you know, we're hitting important levels and all of this stuff. You know, a lot of people, and I know y'all are gonna cringe when I say a lot of people start yelling that alt season shit, right?
Oh.
So
where's my boy Crypto West at?
There we go, right? so let's talk about that for a little bit, and let's talk about I want to talk about it in 2 sections. I want to, because we got a couple of alt guys that are beasts at trading alts in this live stream right now. So let's talk about, when do you guys think that we can legitimately say it's alt season, or even getting close to alt season? And after we talk about that, let's wrap it up and talk about some of you guys' favorite alt picks at the moment, or ones that you think people should start getting in on in preparation for when this next alt season is.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick it off, Blues?
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think the alt season will start once Bitcoin is close to the top. Let's say it will be around 10% from the top, like it will be at 11K or 10K. That's where I mean, actually, after the next pump, you just start looking for good buys. I think that's where things are going to pump, because right now, like, the BTC dominance is at almost 50%. I think that's where things are getting interesting. Like,
yeah. So just let's pause right there and let's talk about that BTC dominance and and how people can use that number in kind of gauging certain things. Like, what does that exactly mean to something?
Actually, if you look at the volume on the retail exchanges like Coinbase, the fiat gateways like let's say Kraken, Bitstamp, all these are retail exchanges. You don't see a lot of volume coming in. So basically, right now it's just the money that's in the market that is flowing in between Bitcoin and crypto, between and the altcoins. So yeah, so right now all the money is flowing to Bitcoin, and it's hurting the altcoins. Like we see some coins like retraced like 99%. I can say like Nano retraced almost 98%. Neo the same thing. Like every alt dumped so hard, and they are still dumping. Even Ethereum, like today it dumped even more. So yeah, so I think Bitcoin pumping is gonna hurt even more the altcoins. So yeah, maybe let's say like in a week we can start to buy altcoins, but it remains speculation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
does anybody want to add on to that about alt season and all that shit?
I don't think it's like, you look at the like a lot of the alt charts, they are in like new low territories, like they are down, and there's nothing really hinting as a reversal. There's like these mini pumps happening, but in April, March, April, there's a lot of like turnarounds, and as Blue said, like I think it will happen when it like Bitcoin hits like 10K or 11K, and then that money out of there will start going into alts again. But at the moment, we're just seeing a lot of random pumps. Like there's nothing key to it, to these little pumps happening.
I mean, if you go back to previous alt seasons, like, well, at least the start of them or the time frame leading up to it, I do feel like we're seeing a lot of similar things. I mean, when alt season does kick off, it kicks off and it goes fast, right? Like we've all seen it. It's literally you're in a position one day, it can pump 10, 15, 20x. You take your position out and then you're looking for the next one. And literally 2-3 days later, it does the same thing, right? I feel at the moment like a lot of these test pumps are people accumulating, coming in, making their big buys. Is it time to buy right now? I'm sitting on the fence. I think some of them are, some of them aren't. It's, as you guys have just said, it's all dependent on Bitcoin at the moment. But if you were to ask me, I do see a lot of the same signs that we've seen before previous alt seasons.
I'm a lot more hesitant as opposed to last one. Like in March, April, we hit it off pretty well in the dog pound. Like we had a good little system running. I've made my lists of like alts I'm watching, but like then there was like 4 or 5 coins. I remember like Elf was one of them, was a front runner, and they all went up about 100% in about 3 days. Like it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, but like I still don't even look at that time period as a real alt season.
No, I don't call it an alt season. I won't call anything a season, but like a good time to, you know, make money off them though. Like right now, like you look at some of these charts and they are low, and then they've got to get through the resistance of the last lot of people that bought, thinking they bought at the bottom. Like a lot of people are going to break even there.
Of course, but I mean, we're going to see the same thing, right, as we see with Bitcoin, and that is that these prices are going to drive down, and they're gonna make people cringe, right? Like, I mean, we've got Blue's chart up at the moment, Tomo, so I know he's going to talk about it. But like, you know, for example, you see just before we had that little dump there, you know, the series of red candles just before we started to see those last green ones, that little consolidation period there where it went sideways. You know, a lot of people, as you can imagine, would have brought in there thinking, all right, this is it, this is the bottom. You know, and those guys right now are sitting there cringing, right? Going, shit, what have I done? You know, I brought in, it's now gone down further. I didn't have my stop losses in place. We all know that, you know, most people don't use them. And they're the ones now that are going to sell at the bottom. That's the way I see it at the moment. Like that little drop below the level of horizontal support. I mean, dropping out there, to me, that's always a good sign. especially when it comes back up with a bit of volume.
Yeah, actually, it's to retest like, but it's a good sign. That is this. I mean, there are signs of accumulation like for a month. On some coins, like not all the coins, there are coins that are still dumping. They're on a different cycle, on a different market cycle, so it's not really the same. But for most of the alts, they are accumulating, but they're making new lows too. So that's kind of interesting and worrying at the same time. So because they can dump more, you can say that the downside risk is limited, but no, it's not. Even if
that's the only kind of thing I want to talk about. Like with the accumulation, normally you have it in a range, so they don't keep making these new lows. But like on that Tomo chart, it's like retesting, but you want to see that sideways action. That's where the accumulation happens, because otherwise it's like little just like pump and dumps really. If it's still going down, you see these little 10-20% moves and they retrace completely. That's not the big people buying in and saying, yeah, this is the position, we're not going to let this go any lower. Because, you know, as people with like the big money, they're not going to buy in and be like, oh shit, we're down 20%, oh, we better buy in more. And then it keeps going down. They normally stop it from going down any further. They control the movements of that stock or coin.
The main reason of me bringing Tomo in particular, because it's quite undervalued. So I don't say like buy now, right now, because it's obviously not the good time
that's
to buy.
Too late, bro. You should have said that at the start.
Oh, shit. No way. There are no refunds actually. It's not a financial.
No refunds. You tell that to the SEC, buddy.
So while Blues is talking about Tomo Chain, let's kind of like just go down the line and get your pick on your favorite alt at the moment, and like a sentence or two of why, right quick. So Blues, you want to start it off? I don't know if this was your pick or not, but do you want to start
it's my pick. But yeah, like I said, don't buy in, like don't go all in from the first second. You wait for it traces. You put limit orders for capitulation weeks, because to be honest, I'm expecting a BTC pump, so we're probably gonna see more weeks on the alts. So you can have your luck by placing like very very low orders. So just wait for a whale to capitulate. Like you can be lucky.
Keep them stop losses.
It's lucky. Stop
losses. And them stop losses and them 15 to 20, 10 to 15 to 20% targets, right? Just to, just in case any good wicks come out, like you just said. I won on that just recently with XLM. It had a huge pump a couple of days ago. I think that maybe have even been yesterday from just a new listing, Huobi or whatever. And a lot of coins these days, they're getting those huge pumps. But they're not sustainable pumps. They're getting just huge pumps just from simple listings like Upbit and all of that stuff. So you want to make sure that whenever you do enter in a position with these alts, especially with Bitcoin looking bullish like this, you want to make sure you have some stop losses set and some good sell targets as well.
I mean, like let's resume for Tomo.
So I know Clay, he killed it last off season. What are some stuff that you're looking at? What are some coins that you're looking at right now?
I've got a list. I normally just post it up in the dog pound at the moment. But like right now, I'm not buying anything. I've just got my list ready. I've charted them out, and I just kind of check them once every 2 days at the moment until I think it's like, if Bitcoin's going to be at 10K, then I'll start be looking at actually entering. But at the moment I've got about 25 coins I've got just listed. Ready to go.
Here's a short ad for the people out there listening. So you just heard Crypto Clay. He posts that list in the dog pound. So hey, if you want to get access to that list, you know what to do. Come in the dog pound. We got more people helping with all season whenever we do get there. But I see that you showing some stuff about Tomo Chain. I see it sitting at 20 mil market cap. That's a lot of room, actually, bro.
Yeah, compared to the competitors, like almost all of them like have more than 100 million market cap, so it really has room to grow. So like if I'm buying this, I'm not selling under 2x. Like
Yeah.
it's really, I think in my opinion, it's really easy to get a 2x in an alt season. Like especially when you see what's coming next. Like this quarter we have the testnet release. No, yeah, the mainnet release. It will start before late September, and the official apps will be released. Like a lot of things going on. Plus, like, and there are rumors, but I'm not pretty sure that there is a listing on a huge exchange coming.
Yeah.
I'm not certain yet, but I think this will come because right now it's only on, like, if we see, it's only on
IDEX and a couple of other
Only on-
shady
yeah,
ass shitty exchanges. I mean,
It's-
I would put my bet on that Tomo chain does get listed soon on a decent exchange, because you know it's a lot of hype around that project, and I know that they're doing good marketing wise, and you know I think it's about time. I think a lot of these coins are saving their big news and their exchange listings. I don't know how all of that works on the back end, but I think a lot of them are saving it for when the market recovers even more. But Wolf, what are some of your picks?
So similar to you guys, I am not really accumulating much at the moment. I'm going to drop one now. I put this in the dog pound last night. I haven't even, so I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot with this. I haven't started accumulating yet, but you know what? Let's do it anyway for the podcast. Now, I just spotted this one last night, so I did a bit of research. I'm going to show you guys. Let me just share my screen. Application window. This is the one. All right, so you guys should be able to see that. So I'm just going to show you guys real quick, like what I look at. So as I just said, I'm still in research mode with this. I haven't accumulated yet. I hope I beat you guys to it if this is a gem. But basically with this one here, things I've been looking at. So I know BitThumb, there's, you know, they disable deposits and withdrawals and whatnot, so you can't take this as gospel. But like these guys here have been, can't just step on the screen. These guys here have been in Korea, like there've been some big bumps here, right? So somebody's been accumulating quite a bit, and the volume is much higher than the rest of the exchanges, obviously. So these guys, what I found interesting was that they have an update coming start of August. Mainnet launch in August. Okay. We haven't seen much of a price movement yet in terms of Bitcoin. So we're sitting like down the bottom here. It's actually sitting, I did have a chart, it's not on this screen. So it's actually, you can see that it's sitting on a decent level of horizontal support. As we just discussed, will it fall through that and go find another low? Maybe. And that is the reason why I haven't started accumulating yet, until I am quite confident that this is going to pump with the mainnet launch. But you know, like for you guys watching, if this, I feel like if this isn't your level of research, then you need to up your game a little bit. So for example, I go through their GitHub, right? Like I go straight through this. I can see here last night, this is what caught my attention as well. These guys are updating constantly. Like they're constantly putting in updates. So to me, I'm like, all right, that's a good sign. I jump into their Telegram, their Discord if they have it. I start asking questions. I want answers. I want them to tell me in writing that yes, we are on track. I then go into their pivotal tracker, right? So I can see everything they're working on right now.
Yeah, I think that's another important thing too. Like there was a lot of coins when we were in the heavy bear market, when we were in the 6K, lower 6s, 5 ranges, that simply went missing. Some altcoins that went missing in terms of updates and communication. And those are the coins that you want to be, those are the projects that you want to be weary of, right? I'm not saying that all coins that went quiet, they're not going to do anything, or they're not, you know, making good steps towards good development. But you want to be in active projects that are, you know, have good communication no matter what, right?
Exactly, exactly. But
yeah.
You know, one thing we need to keep in mind as well, right? That because the space is so new, and we have a lot of these really talented developers that, you know, they come up with these fantastic ideas, and these guys can code these ideas and code them really well, you know, scalability wise, they're all over it. But, you know, they may just be really shit at marketing. They may be really shit at communicating with the community. Now, that doesn't necessarily take away from the project, right? Like, I mean, if you go into the real world away from blockchain and you're building this, you know, this huge platform that's going to revolutionize a particular industry, you don't expect the developers to be the ones out there marketing and communicating, right? And so some of these projects, they may not have the funds, or they may not even know how important it is to have a really good marketing team in place to be able to communicate the message of the platform to the public and answer questions and get the buy-in from the public. So whilst it is a really good sign to look for, you know, are these guys active in social channels? Are these guys communicating with the public? For me, it's not the be all and end all, right? Like, you know, you dig deep, like you go into stuff like this and go, right, you know, like, what are you guys working on right now? Are you guys on track? Is code being to GitHub constantly? You know,
yeah,
like,
I would say it would be a combination. It would be a combination of communication and are they reaching the goals on their roadmap? I think the roadmap goals is a little bit more important, right? But communication is still key, right? Like you said.
Exactly. Oh, communication is key. But yeah, like some of these smaller projects that didn't run ICOs, that, you know, they didn't have that funding from the beginning to hire marketing teams. I do still look at them and go, right, you know what? And the beautiful thing is you can get into their chat, you know, and get a hold of the developer. Say, hey guys, are you alive? Are you guys still working on this? You know, yes, we are. Cool. I noticed you guys had your roadmap that you guys are going live with the mainnet in August. Is that still on track? Yes, it is. You know, check out our GitHub. You can see we're committing code, blah, 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 blah. Cool. And so like you said, but it's part of a whole bigger picture of research. So you don't just look at one thing and go, hey, look at that. The GitHub's been updated every day. Therefore, I'm going to throw thousands of dollars into this project. Like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's some good shit, right?
One big question you got to ask them as well is like, have the developers been kidnapped?
on some power shit, huh?
I can't even remember what coin that was, but it was funny.
Yeah, I saw some weird shit about something like that.
Oh, was it?
But yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But that's the one I'm currently watching. That's the one I'm currently doing research on. So if you guys want to jump in and beat me to the buy, feel free.
So that's some good shit right there. So I know, and I want to, Mayne, are you still there? You still on the line?
Yeah, buddy.
I know, I know a lot of people know you as, you know, the Bitcoin price action guy and active in the Bitcoin trading. But do you what do you invest into alts at all at any, you know, point in time?
So I have a huge bag of LBC that all of you should buy. So I can. So here's the thing. I mean, I've been scorned by altcoins before, like LBC, that like the chart looks amazing, right? So I'm like, look, it's full retrace, looks like it's found a floor. Like I'm gonna buy it, and it's gonna go to the moon. And you know, a year later, I'm still fucking holding it. So, but I've also been in the ones that do like 1,000%. Like, so to me, alt season happens when Bitcoin is on like a bull run, not when it's on an upswing towards, you know, potentially breaking a swing high. To me, it's when it's on a bull run, like when it was going to 20K and anything you bought was going up hundreds to thousands of %. I think anything in between that could be seen as, you know, money just moving between these things. So I'm a little, you know, I'm hesitant with altcoins. I don't do a ton of trading. There are some that I like. And I think one of the things I like about altcoins from a fundamental perspective, I guess, is I find that ones that, you know, just like you guys were saying, have good development teams, they have partnerships, they are updating, you know, consistently. To me, from a technical perspective, those are coins that make sense to get pumped again. Because those news releases, those partnerships, things like that, that can be used to, you know, push up the price and inject that volatility. So in terms of a couple of coins that some I hold and some I don't hold, but I'm looking to buy, I really like Syscoin. Seems like they've got a lot going on. I think it's cheap. I think it has a ton of upside potential. ZRX or whatever the handle is, 0x. I like that coin as well. I don't love the chart where it's at right now, but I do think that coin is one that next time Bitcoin finally goes on another fucking bull run, I think that one's going to pump really hard. Another one is Ven. Ven, I think, like the chart, obviously it just died over the last couple of weeks here. Like I think it hit almost 20,000 Satoshi, but I think Ven is one of those coins with a good development team, good marketing. They seem to be updating stuff all the time, you know, doing new releases. I think they just partnered. Now it's not Ven anymore. I think it's called Vet or something like that. Yes. But I think that's a good project long term. And then I think you know, just the staples. I know LTC is a dead coin. Ripple is some people think is a dead coin. I'm telling you, the next bull run, like Litecoin is going to be worth more than $80. Like that's a fact. So, and another one I like is Cardano. I think Cardano looks really good as well, especially from a technical perspective right now. And my one like caution with alts is like a lot of them have really good risk reward opportunities right now because they're so low that they're either going to neck and make new lows, or they are gonna, you know, have a bounce eventually here, or hold the floor that they're at. The one thing to be cautious with is just remember, like, volume. Like, are you able to sell? You know, if you're gonna chuck a few $1,000s into something, are you gonna be able to sell it? Because if the price of something goes up 100%, it's like, well, how much volume was there? Are you gonna be able to sell your entire stack at 100%? Or by the time you sell it, that gain is down now to, you know, not as much. So always be aware of volume and just be careful. Like, you don't want to get drugged down 90% in a coin, because there's nothing worse than like losing your actual Bitcoin, because it's very hard to get it back. It takes a whole lot of money to get back to break even. So when you're playing alts, play it just like you're playing anything. Like, have a stop. Like, I think people have this conception with altcoins, but it's like, oh no, it's different. I'm just going to hold all this thing until it pumps. It's like, it should be no different. Like, if you get stopped out, get stopped out. Like, you can always rebuy it. So, exactly. You know, treat it like a trade, be smart. And I think everything kind of Satoshi Wolf was saying there and everyone else was 100% correct. Like, you want stuff that's, you know, active, but I do think coins like Litecoin, where I'm not the expert on it, but from my understanding, Charlie Lee sold all of his Litecoin, and, you know, it's a dead coin, but I think that there's no way Litecoin is worth $80 2 years from now.
Yeah, so, I fully agree with that. I fully agree with that.
I mean, it was worth $400. Like,
I know, right? That was a big
gonna pump again.
Yep.
And we all remember the Ripple run too as well. And as much shit as people talk about Ripple, they got some nice development going on. So I mean, you can't deny the shit like that, right?
Kind of like a cult Ripple for some reason. You either like Ripple for life and you're gonna get like it tattooed on you, or you think it's like the biggest shit coin out there.
Even though it is, I made a decent profit on it last run it had.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
And that's all that matters here in the dog pound. We all about that profit, all about them bags, all about that moolah. So I think that was a good one. Episode 2, the Dog Pound presents Off the Chain. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We have been going a little bit for over an hour. It's a nice Friday night. It's late some places of the world, but look, hey, we looking good right now in the charts. Get your ass up off that computer chair. Go get some drinks. Go get social. Enjoy this time with your family and friends and stuff, and just enjoy where we're at right now. You know what I'm saying? Get lit. Get lit. We lit. There we go. Wrap it up. And here we got Blues, we got Clay, we got Wolf, and we got Trader Mayne, and I'm Blockchain Dame. Thank you all tonight, and we'll be back with episode 3 in a couple of weeks.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Take care.